I think at the same time, you talked about how you went through the red pill journey too. I think men need to have a reference point to understand to not do it anymore. I agree that it's the truth, but pretty much all men are still going, because we're imperfect, we sin. We are going to act on these urges regardless, out of curiosity or out of ego or reaction, or just because it's out there. A lot of guys need to just get it out of their system in order to fully obey. Is that, do you think that's true? Or even as I'm saying it, I'm starting to disagree with that. I have to defend red pill, and I do agree with pretty much everything you said, but I have to defend red pill because you have to understand it's for a lot of guys in the West, it's just the best solution to a problem. You're right. It's a reaction to feminism. It's a reaction to this girl boss mentality, and it gives men a way to navigate through a society that is against them, that's actively trying to make them weaker. Islam fixes that because men are told to, and Muhammad's a G, like Muhammad, peace be upon him. He was a businessman. He was a political leader. He was a really strong man, and Islam values it and respects masculinity. There's no toxic masculinity. It's not ashamed. You're supposed to be strong. There's a lot of things like you can't wear, like you can't have a small little, you can't swear any, right? I'm not trying not to swear, but you can't have a pussy little dog, a little squirky chihuahua, because that's haram. That's a waste of time. It's like an object of beauty. Am I correct? You're supposed to have like a big guard dog.
Yeah, if you do have a dog, it has to have a purpose, like being a guard dog. Yeah.
Right. I used to wear a gold chain, but wearing gold is
we go.
It's haram. I wanted to say it was gay, but that's why, because you're wearing. I'm trying to change my terminology.
Well, here's the thing. You're saying it's gay, but you know, I'm not gonna say it's because it's gay, but the basis is because it's imitation of women, bro.
Gay.
That's why it's haram.
Yeah. Gay. Okay. Fair. So I took off the gold chain because you're not supposed to wear. Do I have to take off the watch too?
No, not that I know of. It's not gold, right?
No.
No, you should be good. Let me double check for you. Let me ask my teacher and double check, but you should be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to Shooter, bro. When we traveled to Dubai and hung out with Shooter, he had sold all of his gold watches, bro, and he was showing us his collection and how, you know, it's all silver now. And I was like, Allah Mubarak, bro. He made that big step. I
wore a gold chain every single day for about 8 years, and just when I heard that, took it off. No, I don't care. I don't care. Gold, I look good. Gold looks good, but I don't want to. I want to stay consistent with it. But yeah, to defend red pill, it gives men a way out. It gives them something to follow. Especially like think about it. Like imagine like the average incel, the average guy confused, like how I was at that time. Like when you're around all this wokeness, what's an easier immediate solution? Is it Islam, or is it red pill, or is it something that gives you, more like red pill will give you more confidence? Like once you realize how to talk to women, when you get over that hump of being like angry that you can't talk to them, it gives you a way to see through the programming and not let you become weaker because they're telling you to become weaker. It does fix a lot of immediate problems, and at the same time, like in social situations, for example, like I went on a big business trip around Europe, everybody's drinking, and then people will look at you in a certain, that's stupid. Yeah, it's stupid to justify drinking that way. But you got to understand why people gravitate towards the red pill immediately.
I wish Anna was here, man. Subhanallah.
Yeah, it would have been nice, man. Inshallah, we'll do in person one day, all three of us. Or all four of us. But yeah, I see what you're saying, and I do agree, right? I'm not saying red pill is completely bad. I'm just saying that since there are aspects of it you can find in Islam, at the point of kind of diversion, someone should choose Islam. But I feel you 100%. We don't have Muslims going and propagating this idea of masculinity in the way that red pill people do. I think obviously they do take it to an extreme because this is something that's man-made and it's going to have flaws. But, I went down that path as well. I tried to get married once. Yeah. You think I'm too young at 22. I tried to get married at 18. Right. So I was close to it in my own head. And it flopped. It didn't work out. And, that broke my heart. I was what red people would call some blue-pilled guy. And, I thought everything was sunshine and rainbows and women were immaculate and like all that stuff. Yeah. And then I did fall for the kind of red pill stuff. It tells you very basic things: work out, get your money up, be a good man. Get lots of women, blah, 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 through being dominant and top tier and high level and high value. And then it starts pushing you in somewhat of a weird direction. kind of a, to be honest, disrespect towards women, degeneracy in yourself and of women as well. Because I mean, think about it like this: there's a clear contradiction just on the basic level of red pill. You think women should not be sleeping around with random men because that's degenerate. But at the same time, a high value man can sleep around with many different women, or can sleep around with many different people. They're not sleeping with other men, they're sleeping with other women, which means for you to be a high value man that's exercising his high valueness by being with women, you need women that are also going to be degenerate. So even if you yourself don't think men sleeping around is degenerate, you're definitely creating the women that are. You're definitely using the women that are. So that's like me saying, alcohol is horrible while I'm sitting here drinking it. It's like, okay, cool, but Yani, you're either exposing a contradiction in your belief, or you're just showing that you're a hypocrite, to be frank.
And then on top of that, they have this myth of the beta male provider, bro. What the hell is that? Because in Islam, Allah tells us that we must provide and protect for our women. Now, I'm not saying you got to provide for just any girl that gives you attention now, but your wife, bro, that's earned that level of devotion and loyalty and commitment from you, bro. You're not gonna provide for her because you don't want to seem like a simp. How does that make any sense, bro? And it just red pill comes from a stem of insecurity. At the end of the day, you're masking one insecurity with another. Genuinely getting on self-improvement and trying to put truth in your life as like the cornerstone is going to lead you to Islam, bro. It's not going to lead you into red pill.
And in a sense, I see it as just the red pill is just there's an echo, but I see it as a just representation of realizing the truth. It doesn't have to be one thing encompassing, but it's a reaction to feminism because feminism is a lie. It's a reaction to the programming because the programming was not made in our best interest. It was made to keep us as slaves. It doesn't have to. There's an echo on.
Yo, Rami, there's an echo.
This camera messed up.
He's muted.
I think he's back now.
Is that better? Or?
Yeah, I think we're good now. We got a $20 donut from Nacho Swati. He said, "My family is Christian. I'll be converting to Islam. This changed the way I looked at life. Learning a lot. Thank you, my brother's getting better every day." Thanks a lot, man.
May Allah bless you and guide your family as well. I think that's one of the things about Islam. It's like, in life, perspective is everything, right? I always use this example, so I'll say it again. I'm going to start with a story, and it's going to sound bad, but let me give a context. So one day I was at Walmart with my wife, and there was an old lady who was in the middle of the doorway and who wouldn't move, so I pushed her, right? That sounds bad, but it's the truth. What I really mean is she was in one of those little like electric scooters, and the wheel got stuck in the concrete because there was a pothole. So I pushed the scooter because she was in the middle of the doorway and wanted to help her go. So the first version is true, but the second version, you have more context. You have a new perspective on it. Islam gives you that new perspective. Islam lets you know, listen, it summarized beautifully with the verse in the Quran. Have you seen the one who takes his own desires as his God? What does this mean? It means that God is the one who we are supposed to obey in every regard in life. As soon as you obey something other than God, you started to worship that thing. If you listen to your mom and dad for every single thing that they tell you to do, you basically worship them. If you listen to the government for every little thing they tell you to do, you basically worship them. If you listen to your own sexual reproductive system and your hunger and all these things that drive you, okay, then you worship your own desires, and you're no better in the words of the cousin of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Basically, you're like the animals, because they do the same exact thing. They feel something, they act on it. Are you going to be on the same level as a dog, that they feel something and they go and do it? Or are you going to use the rationality, the intellect that God gave you and the guidance he gave you to decipher what's good and what's bad?
It's almost subhuman. And I love the point that Brother Rami brought up in the beginning, where it's like you're sleeping around with a bunch of women that are degenerate, that you deem not wifeable, not wife-worthy, right? They're just 304s or whatever. And then you have other girls that you categorize as a wife. But in the process of dealing with women in the former manner, you're creating more women that are not wifey. So I love that point, because you're left with a society that you yourself are basically deeming as degenerate, but you are causing that. So it's not a solution. It's not solution oriented. It's reactionary. And there's many benefits in red pill. I'm going to say this, like, first and foremost, we all know this. Just like there's many benefits in many other ways of life. But it doesn't mean it's going to be over encompassing as the whole truth. And the problem with these things is many human beings lack the mental faculties to draw the line between what is too far. Because red pill genuinely goes into one extreme of MGTOW. And then you got all these people that are just sleeping with blow-up dolls. And we know through Islam that clearly Allah tells us that we as human beings don't have the full picture. So instead of leaving mankind to kind of figure things out in man-made ideologies that, yeah, sometimes there's good, but then there's bad, and then they all say, oh, take the bad with the good or take the good with the bad. Islam is all good. So why not just submit to something that can't do you any wrong?
That's a great point. But I think at the same time that a lot of men need to, and you talked about how you went through the red pill journey too. I think men need to have a reference point to understand to not do it anymore. Like we could say this, and I agree that it's the truth, but pretty much all men are still going, because we're imperfect, we sin. We are going to act on these urges regardless, out of curiosity or out of ego or reaction, or just because it's out there. A lot of guys need to just get it out of their system in order to fully obey. Is that, do you think that's true? Or even as I'm saying it, I'm starting to disagree with that.
I think Islamically, we know clearly we don't need to just get it out of our system. But I think that as products of Western civilization and society that are already kind of embedded into that and have not been programmed correctly by Islam from the jump, yes, we might need to know the night to know the day. But I do want to know what Rami has to say about that.
Yeah, so firstly, I really appreciate the point you made, and I think it's very important that I mentioned that there's a lot of red pill spokesmen for red pill, and they're great speakers. They make great points, and a lot of young men resonate with them because they've been through what they've been through, and they can relate to them on a lot of many different levels. And I think there's a lack of young Muslim men who are being those role models in the same way, that are doing the same thing red pill community is doing in terms of masculinity and brotherhood, except replacing red pill with Islam. So I see what you're saying with that, and I do agree on that end. But I Islamically, obviously, I don't agree with people needing to get it out of their systems before they convert. I think that's kind of just a scapegoat. Obviously we want to, right? But Allah says in the Quran, it's possible that you love a thing that's bad for you and that you hate a thing and it's good for you. You don't know, and God knows. So at the end of the day, I think what's really important is, I'll give an example. I spoke to a young man, and he was telling me that he wants to be celibate. He's not super religious. He's not a Muslim, but he was telling me about this. And he said, I just can't exactly get over the fence. And I told him, listen, you have to understand why you're doing it. You can't just be celibate to be celibate, because everything in your body is going to tell you to not be celibate and to go, be with this woman and that woman. You have to understand why. Islam gives you the why. So you don't see it before you accept Islam. Because all you see is what I want, my urges. Once you understand Islam, and once you actually even if you don't accept it, even if you at least believe in it in your heart, then you're going to start to see a lot of these things as bad anyways. Now, I'm going to be honest. I'm a man. I have urges. I love women. Alhamdulillah. I think they're beautiful. I actually don't have the urge to go out and sleep with random women in the street. I don't. Because my love for God is so much more than my love for, doing that. And Islam gives a way out, it says get married. You want to be polygynous? Be polygynous. Get married to all of them and take care of all of them. There's no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And if you feel I didn't answer, no worries.
No, it did completely answer it.